We're on First Samuel chapter 2. And if you've been following along with us, we've been going through the story of Hannah and Samuel. I want to begin with the story from Peter Scazzaro in his book, Emotional Healthy Spirituality. And this is a cool story, so take a listen to it. Peter Scazzaro tells a story about a wise man living in one of China's vast frontiers. One day, for no apparent reason, this young man's horse runs away and was taken by nomads across the border. Everyone tried to offer consolation for the man's bad fortune, but his father, a wise man, said, "What makes you so sure this is not a blessing?" Months later, his horse returned, bringing with her a magnificent stallion. This time, everyone was full of congratulations for the son's good fortune. But now his father said, "What makes you sure this isn't a disaster?" Their household was made richer by this fine horse the son loved to ride. But one day he fell off his horse and broke his hip. Once again, everyone offered their consolation for his bad luck. But his father said, "What makes you so sure this is not a blessing?" A year later, nomads invaded across the border, and every able bodied man was required to take up his bow and go into battle. The Chinese families living on the border lost 9 out of every 10 men. Only because the son was lame did the father and son survive to take care of each other. You see, what appeared to be a blessing and success often turned out to be a terrible thing, and what appeared to be a terrible event often turned out to be a rich blessing. Here's the point for you and I. Oftentimes, like this young man, we don't know what God is up to. And this is the position that Hannah finds herself in the previous chapter. Looking back at the first chapter, here's what has happened in chapter 1. In Samuel chapter 1, Hannah is barren. Essentially, she was considered, worthless by society. And here's why. Sons were considered valuable for their ability to be laborers in the field. Sons were a social security net in a time where there were no 401ks or pensions. There was a social stigma, moreover, attached to barrenness. People would, in that culture, ask, "Well, what sin did you commit? What are you hiding? Why isn't God blessing you?" And though she's provoked, she doesn't get Peninnah, her rival, in a headlock. She doesn't pull out her hair. She doesn't take vengeance against her. She doesn't forsake God. She continues to seek God faithfully and with perseverance. And in 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 28, the Bible says this: "Therefore I also have lent him to the Lord. As long as he lives, he shall be lent to the Lord." So they worshipped the Lord there. That's what Hannah said. That word Lent is the Hebrew word Saal or Saul. You can say it that way. Here's why ancient rabbis, said that this was no coincidence that the word Saul was God's intentional placement, because Saul as a king was such a disappointment. And ancient rabbis say that Samuel himself was the first king. Interesting placement of words. And now, in her journey in walking with God, she's going to reveal to us the nature of God and who He is. You know what's interesting with modern technology? You can go to Google Maps or wear one of those cool headsets and you can Google the Eiffel Tower or the French Alps, and you can see these beautiful places, from the comfort of your home, on your computer or on a headset. But only a traveler to the places can give you firsthand experiences of the food, the culture, the coffee shops, the landscapes. Hannah has journeyed with God. She has walked alongside him, you know, and she's cried out to him and she's sought him. And now she's going to give us a firsthand account of what she's experienced in walking and journeying with God. And we're going to learn something about her walk with God and about what she learned. And here's what she teaches us.